Ayo, it's Anthony and welcome back to my channel, guys. My guest today has 96 monthly listeners on Spotify and counting. He just released his new EP titled Maymung Will Never Die. Let's go ahead and give a warm welcome to my friend, Maymung. All right, how are you?
Pretty good. Doing
Awesome.
okay.
So I want to dive right into this because if for those of you that are watching, he is an artist that has a really amazing sound, but all people know is he has great music. They don't know anything else about him. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to be one of his first interviews to pretty much get some information on him so everyone knows more about the artist that they're listening to. So you just dropped an EP October 9th of this year entitled Maymung Will Never Die.
Mm-hmm.
5 tracks, but there isn't one sound.
Yeah.
So what's the reasoning behind that? There's 5 tracks on there and they all have different sounds.
Yeah, that definitely goes back to when I would start out making music. I started out making EDM music.
Mm-hmm.
I made it from when I was 13 till about I was 17. And I was just so bored with the sound. Everything just grew so stale after a while, especially like leading into 2014 and 2015.
Right.
And so after that, I really told myself, like, I don't want to make one thing, one formulaic thing. I don't want to be bogged down by a sound. Mm-hmm. I just want to make some cool stuff. So that's where this new EP is really just like, I definitely wanted it to be pop music. At the beginning of quarantine, I locked myself in my room and was like, let's just make a pop record. Let's see where that goes. And the new EP is definitely like my twisted version of what a pop EP would sound like.
Okay.
It was just like anything I wanted to do, I did it.
I like that. And there's a song titled Tree Sap on the EP.
I just lost the heat and the sunshine. How do I fit time in a one line? And life's moving too fast, slow down like tree sap.
And on that song, it has so many different elements throughout the song. And, you know, at one point it's very upbeat, it's fast, and then it slows down out of nowhere. And it also just kind of fades out like with no lyrics for like the last like minute or so, and the beat keeps changing. So what's that about? What was the inspiration behind that track?
So going into this EP, I definitely wanted to do a bunch of different changes. Mm-hmm. Between each song, I maybe wanted it to start out one way and end in a totally different direction. Mm-hmm. That was inspired by artists like Tame Impala and JPEG Mafia.
Okay.
But I definitely wanted to do it in my own way. But with a song like Tree Sap, I was sending that song back and forth with my buddy Paul, and he is a K-pop producer.
Okay.
And the thing about K-pop, it goes in so many cool different directions in one song. It'll start out maybe like a ballad, then go into like a crazy rap section, then some like dope EDM stuff, bring it back into like a different kind of rap section. Like, I don't know. It's so cool. K-pop is so cool. And I sent him my song, and it was just the opening and then the first chorus. Okay. And he sent me his song, and his song went in so many different directions. And I was like, and me being a competitive person, I was like, I'm not about to let you outdo me. And so I was like, in the second verse, it's gonna turn into a triplet feel, and in the third, you know, and just trying a bunch of different stuff. It's like kind of rap, it's kind of EDM, it's kind of experimental, you know, and definitely with that last half, I knew that song wasn't done until it scared the shit out of me. I was working on that song real late, about like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Oh wow!
And there's a part in there that the vocals kind of come back and they go, bah!
Yeah.
It was so late, and like I heard, like I was like, I knew I was hearing stuff. I get real paranoid real late at night, and it went, bah! And I was like, oh, okay, the song's done. We're good.
I like that. I really like the different sounds of each track. I like how not one track sounds like the other, and also not one track has the same message as the other. So you're going into this EP and you can kind of almost find a track for most feelings and emotions. I know that um, Glow Boys has a pretty deep message to it, you know. You know,
Yeah.
you're saying things like where were you? I just needed a hey or a hug. So, and it's also featuring YBH, who's another up and coming SoCal artist. So let's talk about that track. Let's talk about how the collaboration happened.
Yeah, yeah. So I threw a show back in February,
Hmm.
and just like my music, I wanted the show to kind of be a bunch of different things. I threw it with my friend Sam, who she's an amazing painter.
Okay.
You could follow her at Acidic Retrograde, and she had done these dope paintings. And I was like, okay, let's do half art exhibit, half music show. So inside, she was selling the um, all the art, and then outside we were throwing like we started with the YBH boys. They're a trio. They're a rap trio.
Oh, okay. I did not know
Yeah,
that.
and they're dope. And so I knew a couple of those guys from back in the day. And then after that show, we definitely were like, let's work together. Let's see what we can do. Um, and I had written that song, and I knew in the latter half I wanted it to just be see what they could do artistically, because a lot of their stuff is so dope. It's like really good rap, trap stuff. But I went into the studio to their studio, um, and I was in there and I was helping them produce the song, and I was saying like I was telling the boys, I was like, just do something you've never done before.
Hmm.
So like leading into that last bridge, and then last chorus, my buddy Joe hops on it, and I was like, just do something you've never done. He started singing, and he was like, nah, that's dumb. I'm dumb. I'm like, no, it's dope. Keep trying it. Let's see what we can do.
Hmm.
And then the guy who's on the last chorus, his name's Steph, he was telling me, he's like, dude, I want to scream on this, but I've never screamed on a song. I was like, if your gut's telling you to do it, man, try it. And he sounded so sick. Um, if you actually listen to the isolated vocals of what he does, he
Hmm.
screamed in like 3 different pitches, and
Oh,
we threw like an auto tune on it just to see how that sounded. And he makes like a chord when he's screaming in the song, and I thought it was so cool. I was like, I've never heard anyone do that, because he's not someone who normally does that. He's a rapper,
right.
but he wanted to push himself artistically, and I was all about that. So and same with my buddy Max on the end of that song. He heard a melody in his head and he went for it, and we worked through it. And I was just so happy that those guys have done, they wanted to push themselves artistically on that project, because I think that's what that whole EP is about, is just pushing the boundaries of what I was able to do. So that was so cool that that rubbed off on them too.
Yeah, and something that I noticed that you did a lot with this EP, what this EP is very production heavy
Yeah,
compared to your last EP, Nightmare, which I feel like it had great production, but it was also, or at least for me, I focused a lot on the raw vocals that were on that EP. I feel like this one was more production heavy than it was raw vocal heavy in a sense.
definitely. Yeah. So with Nightmare, it was definitely, I wanted it to be a little raw, a little gritty, a little nasty.
Hmm.
Um, but I wanted to just be like pure expression. It was just all with Nightmare. That song, that album, I'm sorry, that EP is about fighting every negative feeling that I have. I deal with really strong anxiety. I
Hmm.
deal with I've dealt with depression in the past. And that's what that EP is really about, is literally personifying all of my demons into one thing called the Nightmare. And in
Hmm.
that opening song, I talk about whooping its ass, about bullying it into killing itself. Um, uh, and the differences between that and the new EP was, I definitely wanted to focus more on how my voice sounded,
Okay.
on
Yeah.
pushing myself into doing different types of choral work, like layering my vocals. Um,
Yes.
and it was something I kind of experimented on in Nightmare on the 2 out of the 3 songs, but with the new EP, definitely I it was all throughout all the songs. Um, And like you said with the production, how it's production heavy, I definitely consider myself a producer first, and then a lyricist, and then a vocalist. Um, Even though lyrics are the thing I'm newest at.
Okay. Yeah, I would say with this EP, for certain songs, you couldn't even tell that you were new at being a lyricist.
Thank you.
And then there was certain songs where you could have gone more in depth. But I think, for example, I would say Turquoise.
Upon thy rounding so we are immortalized.
Which is one of my favorite songs on the EP.
Yeah.
I think it's by far my favorite as well when it comes to lyrics. And I think, what am I trying to say? I guess what I'm trying to ask is what's the inspiration behind Turquoise? What's the message behind that?
Yeah. So that song for me is really hard to listen to. It was really hard to make. But I think it's something that's really fulfilling for me. It's a song about a friend of mine who passed away back in January. And it was tough, like I initially didn't think I was allowed to be sad because I hadn't talked to this person in a while. But after talking through it with some of my friends, and then going to her wake and talking to her mom, I totally knew that it's okay to grieve over someone no matter how long it's been, and that song was for her. That song was for that person who passed away. And it's probably the most emotional song I've ever written in my life. And I've been writing songs since I was 13. And with that song, when it was close to being finished, I wanted to show her mom. And if her mom had said no, I wouldn't have put it out. It would have just been for me and whoever I shown. But luckily her mom loved it. We listened to it a couple times, and then everyone cried a bunch of all night. But it was really nice for her to let me put that song out, and I'm really happy that she let me express that, and I'm happy that other people get to hear it. I think it's a really important song in my discography, and I think people can really relate to that, to losing someone and that feeling.
Relatable. It's my favorite song on the EP. I love the lyrics. I love the vocals. I love the production. The layering of the vocals as well, especially towards the end of the song. To die for. It's my favorite.
Thank you.
And it's crazy because being a fan of your music, I would have never guessed that the song was written for someone who had passed away. And you're like, I just thought like, wow, he's just very creative and he writes deep. But now I know like, oh, there's so much more to the song than what's just on the surface, which is amazing. And, I know you've been in talk with a couple of blogs and they've been, reviewing your music. The most recent one was Fashionably Early, who's known for like finding artists and music kind of before everyone else does. And, they did a quick review on your song, You Don't Love Me the Way I Do.
Yeah, You Don't Love the Way I Do.
You Don't Love the Way I Do, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were saying the song is great, it has a great sound, but they did mention like, oh, like that's all we know about him.
Yeah.
Like, surface level, like he makes great music, he's from California. And so it's crazy how you've been releasing great content all this time for the past couple of years, but no one's really reached out and been like, hey, let's actually give his EP, a review. Let's give a single review and post it on our blog. What is that life like? How is it where you're reaching out to blogs?
It's rough. It's definitely hard. And I think going back to what you said about how no one's really reached out and wanted to learn about me until recently. I think that's both exciting, and now it's not as bad, but it was kind of rough for a while because I've been making music for so long. And I felt like I'm only barely starting to get taken seriously as an artist and as a musician, as a singer, as a producer. For a while, it was rough. No one wanted to take me seriously. Even like certain family members thought it was just a fad that I was doing. But I think people are starting to know that I'm very serious about this. I'm very
Right.
serious about my art and what I do. And I think it's starting to show in my music too. I think it's only getting better. And like you said, with blogs too, like sending it to blogs, they they're both really rough, but oddly supportive, um, while also denying me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why are they denying? Where is that coming from? Is there a certain aspect that they're not seeing in your music?
Yeah. What I'm getting from it, from all these different blogs telling me no, is that even though they love the songs, they love the production, my vocals, the expression. The problem is I'm not easily marketable. And
Okay.
that goes back to me just doing whatever I want to do, which is exciting. I don't want my expression to be boxed in. And for them that's rough because it's scary, because they're, and I understand, these people, they need to put out what works,
Mm-hmm.
because you know uh, maybe someone doesn't understand what I'm making, and that's totally okay.
Right.
I don't know any other artist that sounds like I do. I'm looking for them, but I can't find them. um
Trailblazing.
yeah, and which is exciting, but it's also, like I said, it's rough because with these blogs they need to put out songs or artists that will get them clicks, and because
Right.
that's how they get that's how they put dinner on their table, on that's
Yeah.
how they get their food. And I understand we all need to eat, but I think I'm just waiting for that one person to take a chance
Mm-hmm.
to really be like, this dude has got it, and he's exciting, and because I think that's what I am. I do think I'm exciting. I do think that, like, I have a lot of potential.
Yes, you do. I agree with that. And this EP shows the potential that you have. And I think what a lot of these blogs aren't seeing is you are still an up and coming artist. You're independent. You're putting out, EPs and singles, and you're doing all this. And you already have 96 monthly listeners on
Yeah.
Spotify. And that's a huge accomplishment. Like, you've been doing this for a while. And someone who has a label and who has all this, they'll have thousands and thousands, but doing this on your own, word of mouth, and just putting out great content and having that many listeners on Spotify itself says a lot about who you are as an artist and what you can bring to the table.
Yeah,
And
I think, thank you.
you're welcome. Absolutely. And, with these monthly listeners on Spotify, do you know where they're listening from? Is it all California based?
No, definitely it's all throughout the country. I've had people listening in Arizona. There's like a lot of people listening in Arizona. I don't know anyone in Arizona. In Philly, in New York, there's people listening to my stuff in Canada, in Mexico, Switzerland, and in Australia. And I think I'm missing a couple, but like those are, like, for some reason there's like a strong presence of my stuff there.
So you're international already without really
But yeah, slightly,
doing
yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
Wow. And how does that make you feel to know that you have people listening all over the world?
That's super cool. I think it's really cool that people click on my stuff at all. Like, just because I a song can start in your bedroom and it could start just on my computer,
Mm-hmm.
where like it's maybe just a cool idea that I'm doing. And for some people, I've had people come up to me and tell me like that some of my songs like mean a lot to them, and that people who barely, they know me, but they don't like really, we don't talk a lot. So
Right.
I've had people tell me like my songs are important to them. So that's super cool that I can sit here at my desk, make something cool, and it's someone's listening to it in Canada or Mexico or something like that, or Korea. Like, it's super exciting to me, for me to just start something small and have it grow into something that I still haven't even been to.
Nice. And have you had people from all of these other countries? Have you had anyone reach out to you on social media before?
Just, yeah, a couple. Just people hitting me up on Instagram and being like, "Hey, I like your music," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you," and then they can't say anything else because it's not in their language, but
Oh, nice.
it's still
Okay.
fun. Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. Well, one, I didn't know that you were international, and two, I didn't know you had people from other countries hitting you up about
Just
you.
a couple. Yeah.
Well, that's still a great
Yeah.
great accomplishment for
Yeah.
just kind of doing shows at home and just releasing music? Because I know you're not the biggest on when it comes to like promoting on your social media when it comes to your music.
Yeah, I try to keep it a little tasteful, you know. I don't want to just go and do what these other people do, where they go onto like a random artist's Twitter or Instagram and be like, "Well, stream my stuff," you know.
Yeah.
I'm whatever. I'm 20 years old and I've done this and this, and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but I prefer other people to share my stuff, you know. Like if I don't want to be the person who's like, come listen to me. I
Yeah.
have the goods. I got the goods. I want other people to you know, to be like, I believe in this guy. He's a genuine artist. You know, and you should listen to him. I think
Yeah, I agree with
and
that. And
yeah,
I think that showed because with this EP, not saying that I haven't seen it before, but specifically with this EP, I've noticed so many of our mutual friends and people I don't even know supporting and tweeting
yeah,
and retweeting all about the EP, and it just goes to show that you're in the you're going the right way. You're taking the step in the right direction,
definitely.
and you're definitely growing as an artist because this EP is a lot different from the music that I've heard before,
Yeah,
and I am attached to this EP a lot more than I am to your previous work. Um, I just think this EP just has so much potential to move people, so much potential to really, you know, go
I
far as
agree.
live performances, as far as visuals. And speaking of visuals, your album art or your EP art, your cover art. Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
What was the inspiration behind that? Because it looks great.
thank you. Yeah, I this is one where I'm back to doing my own stuff. For the last EP, I had this dope artist named Ibram totally take just a couple words that I said about the EP and create this picture that I saw in my head
Mhm.
without even talking to him about it. That was really cool. But for this one, it's more inspired by my favorite artist, whose name is Madian,
Okay.
and he has this cool cover art for his album, Good Faith. But it's a little, you know, for him, that album is kind of bright. It's kind of fun. I think my AP is a little more serious. It deals with more serious topics, more personal topics. And so for me, I wanted to do my own version of that, where it's a little darker. You know, I took the picture at the beach on my friend's iPhone, um, and I totally didn't realize that the damn iPhone pictures come out in
Vertical.
vertical, and so I had to stretch out the picture and like somehow make it work. It looks like an actual picture, so it looks
Yeah.
like a real place, but no, those rocks are like stretched out and the sky is stretched out, but you can't really tell if you look at it. And each song has artwork that I've done for it.
Oh,
And
okay.
those, and you can see those on YouTube and on SoundCloud. Yeah, each song has
Oh,
specific colors that I feel go to the song. Like Glow
okay.
Boys for me was very purple. I don't know
I can
why.
see that, yeah.
I can't tell you why, but that's just like what I saw. So the cover art's purple, and then each song has corresponding colors and
Mhm.
visuals to it.
I love that. And so let's dive in a little more into the EP. Let's talk about the different songs,
Yeah.
the thought process behind the song. If there was a song that's on there that almost didn't make it. So let's go ahead and start with, we'll talk about Glow Boys again,
Uh-huh.
which again is featuring YBH,
Yeah.
who's the up and coming SoCal rapping
Trio.
trio, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Yeah. Glow Boys started as just a bass line. Um, I thought it was super cool. I lyrically, I started feeling so um, frustrated what was happening in my life personally and what was happening social politically.
Right.
I have a crack in my ceiling. I had I say that in the song. I literally do have a crack in my ceiling that does leak when it rains, and it
Right.
leaks pretty bad. So I was talking about that. Also, that was around the time of the George Floyd protests and when
Mhm.
the police murdered him. And, you know, it's for some damn reason, it sets off a chain reaction where someone will die and then there will be like 5 more killings, or just like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it was rough. So on the second verse, I talk about how I go out screaming for peace, come back, and my room was flooded up to the knees. That was true. I went to a couple protests with some friends, thought I was doing the right thing, and I came home, and my room was literally flooded up to like my almost my ankles. Like it was like a couple inches of just water. And I was so pissed and just so upset because I thought I was being punished or something, like for doing a good thing.
Right.
And they had actually to fix it, they had to rip down half my wall. And it just felt like everything bad that was happening in my room was kind of corresponding to my head, because I was just getting more depressed and more angry and just more upset. And then that was also reflecting what was happening outside, where things were just kind of getting worse. COVID was getting worse. More people were dying every day. On top of that, there was, police killing Black and brown people. And then innocent police people getting shot too, which it's not what I wanted either. It was just getting to be so much that like writing about it was the only thing that helped me, that it helped me feel better. And since then, and really what the main idea of that song was just like, it's getting rough. I really could just use someone to check up on me.
Right.
And that's just how I felt. And not that I think I deserve like everyone to be on me all the time, but sometimes when just things get rough, you just need someone to reach out to you. And since then, people have reached out to me, and it's really nice.
Good.
Yeah, but at the time, and my room is a lot better. My head's a lot better.
Good.
But just at the time, when things get rough, it's just like, don't be afraid to ask for help. And I understand, and I think it shows that like a lot of people would understand that when things get rough, that you just kind of need someone.
Yeah, and I really like, at first when I heard the song, because again it was production heavy. Like the first listen, it was all about the beat and the way the song was flowing. But after the next couple of listens, that's where I really started to like dawn in on the lyrics, and I was like, oh whoa! I was like, this song actually has a deep message to it, and it's almost like a cry for help. Like, hey, like where were you? Like I mentioned earlier, where were you? And like I just needed a hug or a hey. I was like, oh,
yeah.
So I was able to. I went from being like, oh, I can vibe to this song because they have the dope beat, to being like, oh, I can relate to this song because, I've had times where I was just like, where were my friends? Where were my family when I was like feeling down? So I was like, this album is a lot deeper than you think when you have the first listen, because you're so attracted to the production of it.
Yeah.
And another song that we talked about a bit was Tree Sap, where you're attracted to the production of the song.
Yeah, that's, like I said, like that song, I think that song perfectly exemplifies the title of the EP, which is and a lot of the songs on that EP actually talk about my greatest fear, which is I don't want to die a nobody. I don't want to just live on this planet and be nothing, be like dirt. I don't want to be dirt. I don't want to be living with the rats my whole life. And that's definitely where it started. I was born into poverty. And I was kept there for a while, but then I was given some opportunities by some family and some people who didn't even know me. And since then I've tried to make the most out of it. And now I sit here and I think to myself of the potential that I can do. Like, I feel like I could really become one of the greats if I really worked my ass off.
Right.
And I just motivated every day by like where I started. I was born into squalor, and I don't ever want to be that again. I don't want to die like that. So the Tree Sap literally being like, yeah, things get rough. Yeah, we should take things slow. But for me personally, I want to live forever. I want my name to live on for so long. On You Don't Love the Way I Do, I actually talk about my plans for death.
When I'm wasting my whole day worrying about you, knowing you don't feel the same, you don't love the way I do.
In the last half,
I
talk about an obsidian pyramid sitting on a throne. that literally is how I want to die. I don't want to be buried. I don't want to be cremated. I want to sit upon a throne and become bones and maybe have buried treasure. And I want to be sit in a room, like an all white room, and just let myself degrade. And then maybe on the outside have it be a museum. And that's all going to be within an obsidian pyramid,
Okay.
black pyramid. I don't know where it's going to be. I just think that'd be dope. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like, just some cool, like, I want my death to be as grand as I want my life to be.
I never thought about it that way. I love that. And honestly, with that song, um, I was trying to pull as much as I can from it, and the most I was able to pull from it, from the 10 listens that I got from it, was the different voice effects again. But then there was also a lyric when you said, "Do you feel like you're holding me back? Because I feel like you're holding me back."
Yeah.
That lyric definitely stuck with me from the song.
Yeah. That you don't love the way that's in You Don't Love the Way I Do. That
Yeah.
yeah, man, that's my probably my favorite song on the EP. That's the
Okay.
one I definitely worked the hardest on. I wanted it to sound like a mix between a bunch of my favorite different artists. That was what I've always wanted to achieve sonically. And I think I did a good job. And lyrically, it's for me, it's like a really solid pop song.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are kind of, they're I think they can be interpreted in a bunch of different ways, and I don't want to give my interpretation on it, because it's
Mhm.
not about any one person for me. It's about a bunch of different things, not just people, and maybe a couple people here and there, but it was about a lot of things that hold me back, like my old computer, where I was literally saying, like, I give my all to you.
Mhm.
I've been nothing but good to you, and you're holding me back. And is it because you're afraid of my potential? Is it because you're afraid of like opportunities that are being presented to me, and you just can't keep up? Like,
Yeah.
and that's really to like certain technologies around me, or even to like myself. So I don't want to give a huge meaning on it, because I want
Right.
people to kind of project their own meanings onto it. But for me, like, it's about a couple different things. It's about a bunch of different stuff.
Okay. And then we talked about Turquoise. And so then the last song on the EP, or not the last song, but the last song that we need to talk about from the EP is Morphine.
Yeah.
And so Morphine um, was like a roller coaster for me. I was like,
That one scares the hell out of me.
yeah. I was like,
That
what
one's,
is going on here? Let's
man.
talk about it.
Yeah.
What's that one about?
Yeah. That one's, it's like a warning. It's more of a warning. I'm someone who's really attached to my faith. I would consider myself Hebrew, I think. Because I was raised Catholic, and then I was Christian, and
Mhm.
then I kind of dove more into Old Testament things. And so for that song, it's really about like, you kind of got to get right, um, because because of what's going to happen, or what I believe will happen. But just in
Mhm.
general, like, it's a good idea for me. It was really kind of like in the latter half, I kind of talk some shit on fake Christians, about, you know what I mean, like American Christianity, about white Christianity, where they're making Jesus white. They're, you know what I mean, and like,
Yeah.
they're doing all this stuff, and they're putting in, and they're still gonna be out here celebrating Christmas when they know that's not the true birth of the Messiah. But even then, it's just like, I hate how modern religion has become an excuse to hate other people, to degrade other people,
Absolutely.
and that's not at all what the Bible says. But that's how a lot of these people will use it.
Hmm.
And for me, that makes me, it gets me a little angry. It gets me a little mad, and kind of had to write about it. And I talk about these Pharisees. They were in the Bible. It was these older Jewish people who kind of taunted Jesus.
Mm.
And whether or not you believe in it, like, that's fine. Like, but this is still like a literary, like, the Bible's still a literary tool that a
Right.
lot of people should know, because it is the most sold text in the world, I think.
It is, yes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and basically they were just these Jewish people who were really like getting on Jesus and like kind of taunting him.
Mhm.
So, and that's, I don't see myself like Jesus is at all, but definitely I've gotten in fights with racists and maybe more conservative peoples who try to use my religion as a way to hate other people, and for me that was like just not cool with that.
Right.
Sometimes I gotta call them out. I gotta get in their face because that's what I'm about. I speak what I believe, and I'm not scared to say it.
Wow. Okay. I would have never guessed that that was the thought process and the inspiration behind Morphine, because um I'm still to this very day diving into your
Yeah,
EP lyrically. And so for me, Morphine, it was just like production, and I was like going
yeah.
crazy with it.
That song started
Now,
out with that guitar line, and that was more inspired by like old alternative music that I really like Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that. Like
right.
just the early '90s stuff. I was really rocking with that when I was a kid. Um, and then I wanted to go somewhere it's never been, where it was like it goes from that to vibey, spacey, and I even try to make myself sound like a different person in some of these parts. I
Mhm.
sound like my mom was listening to it and she goes, "Who's that girl in there?" I go, "What are you talking about? That's me." She goes, "No, that's not you." I go, "No, mom, that's me. I recorded everything. That's my voice." And she goes, "No, that sounds like a girl." She goes, "You sing that high?" I'm like, "Well, no, it's effects." But she was like, "Okay, well, no, I don't think that's you." And I was like, "Okay, mom, whatever."
I have to agree with your mom with that, because there was a lot of times when I was listening to the EP, and your voice would change on one song. So then
Yeah,
I would go back and be like, "Oh, who's this featuring?" And it would just be you, and I would be like, "Wait."
yeah,
I'm like, "This is just him." I'm like, "But he has so many different vocal effects." I was like, "That's cool," because it's making me think that I'm listening to more than one person on a track. And
yeah,
I with Glowboys, I was having an issue of figuring out who, like, where YBH came in and where you came in, and I was like, okay, so which is which? But we spoke earlier, and you told me
yeah. The last three voices on that song are gonna
that's
be the
for him.
boys.
So now
Yeah,
I got to go listen to it again and be like, okay,
yeah,
this is Maymung and this is YBH. Makes sense. And honestly, I think doing that is so different. I don't. There's not a lot of artists who that I've listened to who are like, let me get on a track and let me sound like 2 to 3 different people on this one track. They're just like, no, this is my sound, this is my voice, and I'm just gonna push through with that. And again, I think that goes back to you saying you don't want to have just one sound,
right.
and you want to be different. And you are, I personally believe you are a trailblazer, and you're being different with this EP.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. It's amazing. And you mentioned that you also have a video coming out for a song.
Yeah, this Friday I'm dropping a video for Sweatshirt. So that song's a little older, but
Mhm,
still real funky. You still rock with it. I think it's really fun.
mhm.
I directed it, I edited it, starred it. Obviously, I produced the song, written the song, with all my other, with every other project. That's what I do. I do everything. But it was really fun to make. Um, I think it's really funny. Everyone I've shown, they say like it's like you're just hanging out with me. So that's kind of what I want people to feel when they watch it. It's just like they're just kicking it with us, having a good time
I love that. And Sweatshirt is going to be released on YouTube, correct?
on YouTube. Yeah.
Awesome. And before we sound off, where can people find your music? Where can they follow you on social media?
Yeah. With YouTube, and with all my music, on every platform, it will be on with Maymung. So you could just look up Maymung and that'll be me. But for Instagram and Twitter, it'll be Maymung_sucks.
Okay. And what is the inspiration behind the name Maymung?
Yeah, that's just what my friends would call me when they would make fun of me. So it started off, yeah, it started off with like Waymond, and then it went to Maymond because that's what like little kids how they would say my name because they couldn't really say my name. They would say Maymond, and then my buddies would change it to Maymong. with Maymung. And like for me, I chose that because it was just so cool. It was just like whenever, anyone wants to call me by my artist name, it's fun. It's just me hanging out with my friends, and that's what it feels like. It's just like my buddies talking to me, and like, and if anyone says that Maymung sucks, you're just using my nickname. You're just using a joke name. So like, I'm not offended at all. Like, if
Right.
anything, I agree with you. It's just like my friends making fun of me. Like, it's all good.
I love that. Hopefully, no one's actually saying that because they would be
Yeah.
completely wrong.
I'm waiting for the haters. I'll be right there beside them.
I mean, once you get them, then you'll know you're doing something right for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I'll agree with them. I don't care. I'll give a shit.
So I think that's amazing. And again, Maymung, I want to thank you so much for coming here, hopping on the channel, and letting me interview you. I hope that this helps your platform and that people will actually have something to say about you when they're writing blogs about you, because they're going to be coming in pretty soon.
Thank you. So. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, man. This is super fun.
Absolutely. And remember, everyone, you can go ahead and follow him at Maymung for all of his music, and all that will be in the links in the description below. Make sure you stream his new EP, Maymung Will Never Die. That's on all streaming platforms. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want to do an interview with me, all my contact information will be in the links below. Other than that, you guys have a great day, and bye, bye, bye.